It's Wednesday, January 31. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simona Absalom. The St. James state of public emergency has been extended by 3 months. The House of Representatives passed an extension resolution on Tuesday with an overwhelming 51 majority vote. This means the measure would remain in force until May 2, 2018. On January 18, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced that the Governor-General had declared the state of emergency for St. James, initially for 2 weeks. The Jamaican Constitution requires that 2/3 of the members of the House of Representatives must approve the motion. Of the 63 members of the lower house, 51 voted in favor, while 11 members were absent. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who piloted the extension, outlined the case for the extension during his presentation in the House.
Nevertheless, the threats still exist. The gangs are still there. Some of the notorious violence producers are still there. And we have managed to contain the situation without bringing on, as I have said, Mr. Speaker, unnecessary pain. Confidence is being built between the public and the security forces. We need to support the security forces within the context that they will enforce the law within the provisions of the law as we ensure a better future for our citizens. While we acknowledge that there will be some disruption and fallout, we must take back control of our country. We must dismantle the networks of organized crime.
In addition to the debate in the House of Representatives, the Senate will now have to meet by Thursday if it is to approve, also by 2/3 majority, the extension of the state of emergency, which would begin right after midnight Thursday and last until May 2. But while the parliamentary opposition said it will support the extension of the state of public emergency, opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips outlined some deliverables that will be necessary for the security forces' operations to be considered successful.
There's need for a whole new infrastructure of accountability for those who lead in the security arena. There's need for the acceleration of justice reform. There is need for the strengthening of our technological resources, surveillance and other things that can keep tabs.
More than 400 people have been processed and released in St. James since the start of the state of emergency on January 18. About 10 illegal guns have also been found. Of the number arrested, at least 9, some of them wanted, have been charged with various crimes. Under the state of emergency, the security forces have the power to search, curtail operating hours of business, access to places, and detain persons without a warrant. In addition, people using roads leading in and out of St. James are subject to vehicle search and personal search. The Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency MOCA bill, as well as 2 bills expanding the functions of Justices of the Peace, JPs, were passed in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. The MOCA bill, which was long delayed, was piloted by Minister of National Security Robert Montague.
MOCA has demonstrated an increased capacity in intelligence collection and analysis. They investigate complex and challenging corruption and major organized crimes. And many of the crimes they investigate, Mr. Speaker, have a transnational dimension. The interconnectedness of major organized crimes such as lottery scamming and criminal gangs pose a challenge for law enforcement. Lottery scamming has become so interwoven into criminal gangs that it now provides the main source of funding. In light of such a reality, the mandate of MOCA becomes even more critical. Mr. Speaker, let me remind this House and the people of Jamaica that we must take note that by MOCA's tremendous efforts, the power of criminals and their influence will be whittled down to insignificant proportions, and the scourge that is organized crime will be diminished. Mr. Speaker, permit me to reinforce the position that MOCA will not be a substitute for the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
The agency will have a dedicated specialized team of investigators, and it will investigate and prosecute complex cases, mainly involving organized criminal networks. The bill circumvents investigations of MOCA by the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDICOM. INDICOM boss Terence Williams has expressed that the commission should have powers to probe cases involving MOCA. Included in the bill is an executive committee to exclusively investigate complaints made against MOCA, thus placing investigations outside the jurisdiction of INDICOM. The other piece of legislation, the Justice of the Peace Bill, was passed by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. The provisions also increase the terms of imprisonment which can be imposed by the JPs and widen their jurisdiction outside a single parish.
National Security Minister Robert Montague has confirmed that changes are coming to how the Commissioner of Police is selected.
There have been concerns about the high turnover in the position of police commissioner since it was announced that George Quayle will step down on Wednesday, January 31, after 9 months in the post. Minister Montague says he too was concerned and has promised to act on the matter by pursuing enactment of new legislation to merge the Police Service Commission, the Civilian Oversight Authority, and the new Jamaica Constabulary Service Act. He told RJR News that these bills will be taken to Parliament within 6 months, giving credit to his predecessor as Minister of National Security, Peter Bunting, for the work he did on advancing the process during his tenure.
Opposition Senator K.D. Knight has suggested that the government review the retirement age for members of the judiciary. He is suggesting that the retirement age of the Chief Justice ought to be raised from 70 years to 75 years, saying the additional 5 years would greatly benefit the local system. During Friday's sitting of the Senate, members paid a tribute to outgoing Chief Justice Zalia McCalla, and in his speech, Knight suggested that the age of retirement for parish judges be increased from 60 to 65, and Supreme Court judges from 70 to 75. He noted that some jurisdictions had no limit on the age of retirement for judges.
And certainly, someone like our Chief Justice who is retiring now should not at all be regarded as having reached the peak. There's much more. There's so much learning that she has that we require, that 5 more years would certainly inure to our benefit.
He argued that if her talent is not used in Jamaica, it would be exploited in the rest of the Caribbean, and suggested that it was a waste of judicial talent to let Chief Judge Zalia McCalla leave the bench. Childhood obesity rates locally have doubled in the last 5 years, leaving health professionals concerned about the future health of our children. The marketing of unhealthy goods to children is high on the list of related issues to resolve. It's part of the focus of the Heart Foundation's campaign for Heart Month, which begins February 1. When looking at obesity prevalence in children 13 to 15 years, the rates have doubled since the last survey in 2010. Executive Director of Heart Foundation, Deborah Chen, says Jamaica's child obesity rate now stands at over 30%. That puts our younger generation at high risk of non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease.
But we are concerned that if you look at prime time on our television and in other print media and so on, billboards, you will see that there is a lot of ads targeting our young children. and the sugary sweetened beverage is of particular concern, bearing in mind that added sugars, not sugars that occur naturally, but added sugars have no nutritional benefits, so you may be getting the calories, but at the same time, you're not getting anything nutritious from them. So at the Heart Foundation, we're very, very concerned about marketing to children in particular.
The government has a plan for addressing non-communicable diseases, reducing premature mortality by 25% by 2025. That includes reducing the prevalence of obesity by 5% over that 5-year period. The ambitious target includes looking at schools' nutrition policy, paying attention to their daily food consumption. Clinical nutritionist Dr. Susan Suarez-Winter, who is working with the Heart Foundation, zeroed in on sugary drinks sold by schools, vendors, and packed by some parents in lunchboxes.
Say the yam, breadfruit, green banana, those more complex ones that have more fiber, they break down slower, and it means that the amount of glucose entering your blood sugar will be in smaller amounts, and it will last a longer period.
This provides sustained energy to the body.
A sugar-sweetened beverage that you have a lot of in a short space of time because it's much quicker to drink it, those things will send up your blood sugar more, put you at risk of diabetes. It also gives you a burst of excess calories, and if you're not burning it off, then you're likely to have that glucose go towards storage, which would be weight gain.
The Heart Foundation will embark on a number of public education initiatives this month aimed at influencing behavior change among Jamaicans with relation to their consumption habits and heart health.
In regional news, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Tuesday referred a more than century-old border dispute between Guyana and Venezuela to the International Court of Justice after a year of talks failed to make progress. Venezuela has been pressing a historic claim to Guyana's Essequibo region, which encompasses 2/3 of the former British colony, since U.S. oil giant ExxonMobil discovered oil in disputed waters off its coast in 2015. Former UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon had appointed Dag Halvor Nylander of Norway to help broker a settlement by the end of 2017, with a strengthened mandate of mediation. Guyana maintains that valid land borders were set in 1899 by an arbitration court decision, a decision Venezuela has never recognized. The announcement in May 2015 of a significant discovery of high-quality oil in an offshore concession 190 kilometers off Guyana set off a round of recriminations between Venezuela and its eastern neighbor. In sports, we go to athletics as the Youngster Goldsmith National Athletic Classics got a shot in the arm on Monday when it was announced that Grace Kennedy will provide sponsorship for the event for the next 3 years. Pen was put to paper at the press launch for the event on Monday in the hospitality room at the National Stadium, where Principal of Kingston College, Dave Myrie, Channel Programs and Promotions Manager at Grace Foods, Ricardo Smith, and David Reed, Business Development Manager at Grace Foods, all signed on the dotted line. Grace Kennedy has come on board as co-title sponsors, and as such, the meet will be renamed the Grace Puma Youngster Goldsmith National Athletic Championships. The 21st staging of the meet will take place on Saturday at the National Stadium starting 8 a.m. The meet, which is a qualifier for the ISA Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletics Championships in March, also offers the rarely contested pole vault and steeplechase events, which affords the athletes the opportunity to qualify for these events ahead of time. And that's the news. Up next, the weather report and forecast. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start with our local currents. Across the island today, we can expect temperatures between 27 and 31 degrees Celsius. We can also expect cloudy conditions in the hilly inland areas. We're also seeing a forecast of scattered showers over there in Ocho Rios. Tonight, we can expect temperatures between 22 and 24 degrees Celsius across the island. We should also expect some scattered showers across the eastern end of the island. Tomorrow, we can expect showers in the lower end of the island, the southern end. We're seeing a forecast of rainfall for Black River, St. Elizabeth, over there in Clarendon as well, and over there in St. Thomas. We're seeing cloudy conditions for certain sections of the island, but it should be predominantly sunny in the western end. Today's forecast for Kingston, we're seeing in the afternoon temperatures between 24 and 30 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of some cloudy conditions. It should be predominantly sunny in most areas. We could get some scattered showers this evening though. Let's take a look at what's happening in Montego Bay, St. James. We're seeing cloudy conditions forecast for Montego Bay and temperatures between 23 and 27 degrees throughout the day. It goes down to just about 7 degrees Celsius this evening. Let's look at what's happening across the region. Right now, we're seeing temperatures between 22 and 30 degrees Celsius across the Caribbean region. We're also seeing a forecast of rainfall today for Havana, Cuba. Let's take a look at what's happening for tomorrow. We're looking at temperatures between 23 and 28 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of showers in the eastern and central areas of the region. We're also seeing cloudy conditions in the western end, but it should be predominantly sunny over there in Havana and over there in Mexico. Let's take a look at our travel planner. We're looking at the United States. Los Angeles should get some cloudy conditions, but predominantly sunny skies. Tomorrow, we're looking at rainfall for Miami and rainfall and snowfall for some places in New York. We're seeing a minimum temperature minus 2 degrees for some of these areas, and a high 24 degrees Celsius for Miami. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.